Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. We got Hester Peirce in the news. Billionaire says the crypto honeypot is exposed. Are we talking about ETHgate? I think we are, ladies and gentlemen. BGarlinghouse is in the news. Will Ripple leave the U.S.? He says they will if, and we'll talk about it. Patrick Hansen thread. Jeremy Allaire shares about the regulations in the EU. You're going to want those. Proof of work, Bitcoin ban, we're going to talk about it. BG stablecoins, Navin Gupta Ripple clip you need to hear from Ripple. And XRP, technical analysis, price, support, and resistance, where are we? Roll that beautiful intro, let's find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Dig Perspectives at the top of the screen and everything that we're talking about here today. No live show this morning on Facebook. I'm taking care of Mrs. Backup. She's doing well, and she says thank you to each and every one for all the well wishes. She is recovering nicely from her double disc replacement neck surgery. It's really been something for her, but I tell you, I think she's going to come out on the better side of this thing, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Right now, it is June 26, 2022. Happy Sunday. We are over $1 trillion. We are 1.023 trillion this morning for crypto. Still missing a lot of money from this space, but we like seeing it back over $1 trillion, that's for sure. We're up 1.9%, Bitcoin 21,700 plus, Ethereum 1,200 plus, and at the number 6 spot is XRP. We are 20.6% gains on the 7-day with all of the really lack of clarity that's happening in the space. And I do believe we're going to get some by the end of the year if the Senator Gillibrand is saying it correctly here. And she says it's critical we have stablecoin legislation. I think that's going to become very powerful for us as we move through this news today. 38 cents. We're ranging between 36 on the bottom and 38 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing I like better than buying crypto is buying tax-free crypto. And you could do that with Itrust Capital. Do you know that you could roll your 401k right into your Itrust? Yes, you can. Do you know that you could take your crypto IRA from another place and roll it right on into Itrust? Yes, you can. Make sure you click the link underneath the video and the comment section description box to check out more. It is really a great product they have there. Okay, take a look at this. If this is the case, then why was ETH given a free pass? Listen to this quick clip from Hester Peirce right here.
Well, I mean, I can understand why people would push back against trying to define something like decentralized with that kind of prescription. And again, we tend, in our securities laws, we tend to be much more about a principles-based approach, right? If it meets the spirit of what we're trying to do, then it gets pulled in, right? But I think part of the difficulty in this area has been that, you know, we've talked about the sale of a token as being a securities sale. And then you've got to go down the line and say, okay, well, when do those token sales stop being securities sales? Is every secondary transaction of a token a securities transaction, or is it just the initial offering of those tokens that are securities transactions? And if it is truly that we're going to treat the tokens themselves throughout their lives potentially up to some point of decentralization, if we're going to treat those as securities, that has real implications for how this space operates, because every transaction is a securities transaction, is subject to the securities laws. So right now, I think there's a little bit of imprecision in the way that a lot of people are talking about this, which has hindered our ability to really think about the hard questions of, okay, if we're going to assume these are all securities, then what are we going to do about how these transactions occur?
Exactly. And here's the real big problem here is why is it that Ethereum was given a free pass when the rest of the crypto industry is being held to a different standard? Certainly Ripple and XRP. You know, this inconsistency has really needs to be addressed. And billionaire Chamath Palihapitiya here says that he issues a crypto warning where it predicts that the honeypot will be exposed, those early VCs that were in this space. And I can't help but feel like he is talking about the VCs in ETHgate and all those projects launched on top of it, possibly. Take a listen here. It is time for them to pay the tab.
The amount of grift by so many of these venture firms in running these sketchy deals where they would put in some amount of money. This is my understanding of the scam because it was explained to me. You put in a little bit of equity at some crazy price, and then you get these tokens, and apparently there's no, like, you can just sell these tokens day one. And so what happens is, like, you price the equity, but it's meaningless because really what you're getting is the right to get some amount of these tokens. The price is crazy. You sell it, and then you just kind of walk away. And apparently, you do these deals where you just rinse and repeat this thing. Wait till that gets exposed.
I mean,
that seems like
the firm that did this the most is Andreessen Horowitz. Chris Dixon, I think, was considered like the best investor last year or the year before because of all these token returns. I gotta wonder when they go, now that people are losing money, that's when people start suing.
The amount of grift.
I tell you, these guys are right over top of the target, aren't they? When you feel like that no one understands what's happening in this crypto space, then you see something like this, these gentlemen talking about this openly and actually saying Andreessen Horowitz, actually saying Chris Dixon's name. They have been watching very closely what is taking place. And the assembly line that had been created from the free pass of Ethereum's ETHgate that has allowed all of those other projects, the billions and billions of dollars, to be launched off the top of that network. What a shame it is. Somebody needs to pay the price. Who's it going to be? Brad Garlinghouse made a great point about Coinbase. He said Ripple CEO says that the SEC contradicted itself by suing over XRP, then allowing Coinbase to IPO when they didn't even have a proper broker-dealer license. And he's right. And I add to his point, the SEC also approved the MoneyGram partnership with Ripple and had no problem with MoneyGram using XRP and never said to MoneyGram or Ripple, oh, no, you can't do this partnership. You can't use XRP, MoneyGram. That never happened. Then there's even more talk about the possibility of Ripple will leave the U.S. Brad Garlinghouse says at a recent Collision conference, Ripple will expand out of the U.S. if the company loses the XRP versus SEC lawsuit. Speaking to Axios Media House at the Collision conference, Garlinghouse said the company could relocate away from the U.S. if the XRP lawsuit is lost. It's not that we could, we will, the chief executive officer asserted. When I think about that, I think to myself, will that happen though? I don't think it does happen. I don't think Ripple leaves the United States. Look at Rosie Rios for just one example of many. Let me really quickly run down here. Michael S. Barr, who's been green-lighted for the VP Fed chair, former Ripple advisor, former U.S. Treasury member. Craig Phillips, former U.S. Treasury member, went on to Ripple advisor and Ripple board, I believe. Still there, I believe. Susan S. Friedman, former Treasury member, Ripple policy head. Rosie Rios, 43rd Treasurer of the United States Treasury. Proud of the redesigning of money to celebrate women and leadership. Do you think all of these people came from the United States Treasury so they could watch Ripple actually leave and go to another country? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Mine is, I do not believe that is going to happen. Here is a very, very important update, must-read thread on what's about to happen with the most comprehensive crypto market regulation in the world being finalized by the end of this month in 4 days. In the European Union. I'm not going to read all of it because it's a lot. But I do want to tell you on the front of the proof of work ban, it looks, as Patrick Hansen says here, that they will allow it, but you have to register in order to be a proof of work miner is what it looks like. And when it comes to unhosted wallets, they're still discussing it before the vote, but they are talking about following in the steps, hopefully, of the UK and not asking for the information of unhosted wallets prior to actually transactions being made. So this is where we are. There's many other important issues. I am absolutely doing a broad stroke over this. There are a lot of issues, but I tell you, we're going to see what happens in 4 days. And on stablecoin front, no exemptions for algorithmic stablecoins, high regulatory requirements for issuers of both EMT, which is e-money tokens, and ARTs, which are asset reference tokens. And it says no CASP and interest allowed on stablecoins. That's where they are on this day. Let's see if any of that changes over the next 4 days. So either they get authorized and risk seeing their issuance curbed or yield services on top of their stablecoins prohibited, or they don't and won't be admitted on EU trading platforms anymore. You know, I've said this, whether it's about Bitcoin, proof of work, or any other thing, you know, you can't stop the technology, but you can regulate it out of existence if you want to. And this is exactly what it looks like they're doing with interest earning stablecoins in the EU. We'll keep an eye on all the events and topics that happen as they are finalized in the next 4 days. I played this clip for you, but I want you to stay with me because I'm going to show you a clip from Navin Gupta from Ripple that really seals the deal for me. This is Brad Garlinghouse. Very quickly, listen to this clip. It's so important.
Well, did you mention Terra Luna just now?
Yes.
Because I think that's less an example of a scam, and it's more an example of creating something that maybe just shouldn't have existed in the first place. So, all right, so, you know, there are payment stable coins where they're backed by a currency, and there's a new proposal from the Biden administration that, you know, those should be regulated like banks and they should have deposit insurance, which, okay, I don't know what you think of that.
I mean, I'm not sure is the short answer. I think stable coins as a category, I think, have a role to play, particularly in domestic settlement. I haven't yet seen exactly where the U.S. is going to come out here. Other countries around the world clearly are doing more ahead of the U.S. and how they're kind of approaching central bank issued digital assets. What's confusing to me is why do we need 10 different US dollar stable coins or 20? Right. And if the US if the US is going to do a central bank issued digital currency, why do we need private dollar stable coins also? Right. That gets a little confusing for me.
So maybe.
Well, there you have it. And that is why I've been saying the USD coin is the official, unofficial digital dollar for the United States of America. Already processed over $3 trillion worth of transactions, by the way. So, sorry about that. I had a problem with the microphone. But nevertheless, that's why I point out USD coin, because I believe it is absolutely poised for adoption on that front. And look, we could see a CBDC be wholesale on the back end and take longer to be created for the Federal Reserve and the Treasury easily, and have USD coin be the highly regulated, licensed, which it already is, right, compliant digital dollar for retail use on the front end. This could happen. And what happens to the USD tethers? What happens to the other private stable coins that he talked about that he doesn't see a real use case for? Well, I think you see through what Senator Gillibrand had said at Consensus a few weeks ago, that it is that critical that they get the legislation passed for that so they can begin to shut those other ones down. That's what I think's coming. And right here, this is Navin Gupta talking about what is the real important components here. And I told you stable coins are more important than people think. Listen to Navin Gupta here talk about how long it will take we have until the new financial system is here. Take a listen.
That at least in the payment space, the crypto becomes the infrastructure for movement of value, or at least for the majority of the value transfer across the world. Are we talking 5 years, 10 years, or another 50 years?
I think to my mind 3 years, right? And it's the combination of two things. So it's a combination of players like us who are laying the infrastructure, laying the pipe, the sewage, the sewage, the plumbing and everything else. And then second, rise of stable coins.
that
And
at least
second, the rise of stablecoins. Because as you get the policy passed, the legislation, which we see is happening in 4 days in the EU, 27 countries, right? Then we see over here, we're talking about getting stablecoin legislation done by the end of the year, according to Senator Gillibrand and many other congressional officials that were sitting on that stage that day. You know, this is important because stablecoins don't just have to be pegged to a dollar. Stablecoins could represent something else as well, right? So this is an important pivotal moment in this space. And I believe because Ripple has been doing so much of laying the pipe and plumbing and the infrastructure that when you do get stablecoin legislation, you will see it launched off this network. No doubt about it. Take a look at this. Congress to receive guidance from Federal Reserve on CBDCs. You can see the coming together taking place here. This from the Digital Pound Foundation. But I have something I want you to see first. Take a look at this. This is why I believe stablecoin legislation and what we see being done with Ripple and the market infrastructure that's been built and the long play that's been taking place here. Because I do believe that we will see Ripple, XRP, XLM, XDC, and you know the drill and the list of coins in this space that have the opportunity to rise like a phoenix from this watershed moment that's happening in crypto, which is analogous to the dot-com bubble that was going on in the early days of the birth of the internet. I want you to listen to right here. It is the one and only Quincy Jones. I have had the pleasure to sit down and interview this young man. He is so smart. XDC developer and all around just genius crypto knowledge here. He's dropping bombs, the best definition of use case utility and real value. Let him break it down for you right here, why it's all so very important.
Boom, I mint $1 billion of whatever asset that I would otherwise have sitting in a drawer somewhere as a stock or bond or whatever, put it on the XDC network. The second I did that, guess what? Nothing would happen. Whoa, what do you mean nothing would happen? Well, that's because you got to do something with that asset first. The asset sitting on the network not doing anything doesn't do anything. But
I want you very quickly now to think about just how many central banks may be doing exactly that at this very moment and have billions and billions of dollars, if not more, sitting on the network waiting to take off and be used.
now there are $1 billion worth of tradable assets on the network. So let's say you had $1 billion worth of those assets and you sold all of them. Well, that means somebody out there had to get $1 billion worth of XDC and buy those assets. So what ends up happening is those assets trading on the network will contribute to the demand for XDC to buy those assets. So what ends up happening is, when you mint the assets, it may not do anything, but as people trade the assets, it will essentially create more and more demand for XDC because you need XDC to buy the assets. And it works like that with XRP too. So if you want to mint $10 billion on the XRP network and then sold it, well, guess what? Someone needed $10 billion of XRP to buy it, which means the amount of liquidity in XRP would need to increase to accommodate the liquidity demanded to buy those assets in the first place. And then as those assets get traded more and more, because you need the foundational coin to buy the asset and trade the asset, or at the very least, you need that to have the maximum amount of liquidity. You could potentially have other assets that you can buy and sell on these networks, but the main native asset is going to have the highest amount of liquidity than any other asset on that network. So XDC will have the most liquidity on the XDC network. XRP will have the most liquidity on the XRP network. It doesn't matter if you print $1 trillion US on there. In order for someone to buy one, they have to use XDC to buy the first one. And this is where a lot of this demand is going to come. So when they won't do anything, but as people buy them, the demand to buy those assets will increase the demand for the token as a whole, meaning that, and that's the thing, let's say I minted $1 billion of assets onto the network, and then I just sold it. And the next day it sold again. And the next day it sold again. That's $1 billion of volume that's now onto the network because people are buying these assets that are worth something.
There you have it right there. And that's why stablecoin legislation is so critical, because they want to get to a place at a foundation level to where whatever is happening across the networks that have real use case and real value are highly regulated, highly licensed, and compliant with a heightened supervision over top of all of it. That's what we're talking about here. Shout out to Quincy. Right now, looking at this, support and resistant lines in the short term for XRP from Egg Rag Crypto says 35.38 cents in resistance and 33 and 35 cents for support. We'll keep an eye on it. And long term, he says for sure the chart is showing that XRP bull run was intentionally delayed, he says, on the monthly chart. He says we're still marching for our targets of $5, $7, $9, $13, $17, $21, $25, $27 this cycle, he says. So there we have that. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Check this out. Ledger, cold storage. I have the majority of my crypto on cold storage. This is a very, very critical time that we're in, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mess around. Click the link. They have great specials, and you can buy, sell crypto on their exchange directly to your cold storage wallet. I'll catch all of you on the next one.